Hello everyone and welcome to the online community event for the Blackford Flood Protection Study. On the screen at the moment there are some basically bits of information regarding how we're going to run this session, as it may be a wee bit unfamiliar to people. Obviously due to the coronavirus pandemic, we've had to resort to a lot of online communications, so this online community meeting has been set up to discuss the flood study. There'll be a short presentation on the flood study and there'll be an opportunity to raise questions and make comments. We will answer them following the presentation. So as we go along, feel free to type in any questions into the small Q&A box. I think you can click the drop down from the top right hand side of your screen, and we'll pick these up at the end. There'll also be opportunities for further meetings after the event if you feel that's necessary, so please get in touch. My name is Gavin Bissett. I am a technician in the Council's flooding section. Alongside me from the Council this evening, we have Peter Dixon, the flooding manager, and Russell Stewart, an engineer in the flooding team. We also have Natalie Robson from Kaya Consulting, Ross McLeish from Stantec, Karen Bloodworth from SEPA, and Paul Laidlaw from the Scottish Flood Forum. As I've said before, due to the coronavirus pandemic, that's why we're doing an online meeting to discuss the study. Information has been placed on the Council's website for a number of weeks, and hopefully you've had a chance to view this. Thank you to those who've already provided comments. We'll try to address these over the presentation this evening. The presentation provides information on the flood protection study, and will cover some background, as well as looking at the identified flood risk, potential options and recommendations, as well as next steps. As I've said, there'll be opportunities to ask questions and provide comments, so again, just reiterate, please type these in the chat box so we get them. Feedback can also be provided through the comment forms, which are available online, and a question and answer report will follow once all feedback has been collated, and this will be distributed to the community. That's a bit of background. The Flood Risk Management Scotland Act 2009 sets out a risk-based and sustainable approach to flood risk management, promoting partnership working between responsible authorities such as all local authorities, SEPA and Scottish Water. The Act requires the production of flood risk management strategies and local flood risk management plans that set out the actions to be delivered over a 6-year cycle. The current cycle runs from 2016 to 2022. The documents covering the next delivery cycle are currently subject to a national consultation, and we would ask that all residents engage with this consultation, and the link to it is found on the Council's webpage. The areas of highest flood risk have been identified as potentially vulnerable areas, or PVAs. These are specific actions to reduce and manage flood risk. Blackford has been identified as one of these PVAs and is covered within the current 4th Flood Risk Management Strategy and Local Flood Risk Management Plan. The Blackford Flood Protection Study is an identified action within the plan and a key action for Perth and Kinross Council. National priority list for flood studies. There is a national priority list, for flood studies, and Blackford is number 43. However, it's the 3rd highest priority study for Perth and Kinross Council to deliver this delivery cycle. Aside from the flood study, the local flood risk management plan includes a number of general actions for public bodies and land and property owners to manage flood risk in Blackford. These are listed on the slide. Further information on these actions can be found via the Council's website, where you'll find links to the 4th Local Flood Risk Management Plan. I'll just touch on a couple of key actions currently. The awareness raising action is important, and this is around improving awareness of flood risk, which helps prepare individuals, homes and businesses for flooding, which can reduce the overall impact. Flood protection studies and community events such as this one help improve the awareness of flood risk, and this will do this for Blackford. Closely related to that are self-help measures, and these are actions that householders and businesses can take to prepare themselves for the risk of flooding and reducing the overall impact of flooding. This can include the installation of property level protection products such as floodgates and vent guards and the like, or may involve the production of individual or community flood action plans. Further information on this is available from the Council's website and also from organisations such as the Scottish Flood Forum. Regarding the maintenance action, Perth and Kinross Council has a duty to inspect and assess water bodies and carry out clearance and repair works where these will substantially reduce flood risk. However, it is primarily the landowner's responsibility to ensure they keep watercourses clear that are within their land, and in a condition that does not give rise to flood risk. The Council currently inspects the watercourses within Blackford on a 6-monthly basis. An interim report was published in March 2019, updating on the progress of these actions. This can be found on the Council's website. A final report will also be produced at the end of the 2016-22 delivery cycle, and again will be made available at that time. Regarding the flood protection study, the Council engaged the consulting engineer Stantec Limited and their subconsultants Kaya Consulting to help deliver the flood study. The study area is shown on the plan on this slide, and it's comprised of the village of Blackford and the surrounding watercourses. The aims of the study are to improve the understanding of flood risk and assess and recommend potential options for managing this risk. There is a significant amount of work involved in delivering the study. This involves a lot of data gathering from various surveys, including gathering information from the local community, to help develop an understanding of the catchment and flooding mechanisms. Flood modelling and mapping is also carried out to identify the risk areas, and we also then have to develop and appraise potential options before recommending actions for future flood risk management. It's important to highlight that this is an initial feasibility study, so any potential works recommended by the study are subject to inclusion in the next local flood risk management plan, further investigations, design and development, funding and public consultation before any firm proposals are put in place. I'll now go on to speak about the identified flood risk, potential options and recommendations. This slide shows the identified flood risk in Blackford. There is a history of flooding in Blackford, hence the action for a flood protection study. The map on the slide shows the modelled flood depths and extent for a 1 in 200 year fluvial flood event. This is an extreme event, and the risk shown is only from watercourses. A 200-year flood is better described as a flood that has a 0.5% chance of occurring in any given year. It's not one that occurs just every 200 years. It's important to note that these maps are also developed at the community scale and are the most detailed source of flood risk information that we hold for Blackford. However, they do not include the level of detail to provide a definitive level of risk for individual properties. Referring back to the map, the areas of significant flood risk that have been identified are around the Cross and the Stirling Street area of Blackford, Abercairney Place, Tullybarden Distillery, Highland Spring and the eastern end of Stirling Street, as well as some risk of overtopping onto the A9 during extreme events. The study predicts that 32 residential properties and 6 non-residential properties are at risk of flooding during such an event, and with climate change, these numbers will significantly increase. Following feedback gathered from the community questionnaire we issued early in the study, we've carried out a surface water assessment and mapped the surface water risk. This mapping basically confirms the information we've been provided from the community and shows the most notable area around the Moray and Stirling Street area, down at the eastern end of Stirling Street. Once the flood risk has been defined, options to manage and reduce the flood risk were considered. A damage assessment was carried out to understand the cost and impacts of flooding in Blackford. This also provides a basis for appraising potential options. An initial long list of actions was developed and screened, and this considered various types of measures, such as direct flood defences, which are typically flood walls and embankments, conveyance improvements, which considers increasing channel and culvert capacities, as well as looking at diversion channels, upstream storage, which looks at the possibility of creating storage areas upstream of the town and reducing flows downstream in Blackford, natural flood management measures, which use natural features to store and slow the flow. So this can be runoff reduction, channel restorations and reconnecting floodplains. Property level protection measures were also considered, as well as some non-structural measures, such as community flood warning. A short list was then subject to a more detailed assessment, and this was considered on economic, technical, social and environmental feasibility. As part of an economic assessment, a feasible option must demonstrate that it has a benefit-cost ratio of greater than 1, that being that the cost of the option is lower than the overall benefit it brings. 4 options were considered on the shortlist, and this is summarised in this table. Option 1 looked at continued maintenance of watercourse with some enhanced maintenance along the back burn, plus ancillary works at the Cross and at Abercairnie Place. Option 2 looked at property level protection measures for residential properties, whilst option 3 considered property level protection measures and direct defences. Option 4 considered diversion channels for the Dannyburn, Backburn and Kimpochburn, plus direct defences and natural flood management measures. Option 4 was identified as the recommended option by the study and should be progressed for further investigation. You might wonder why this was the case given the lower cost and higher benefit cost ratios of other options. Each option was found to be economically feasible, but it's important to note they have varying levels of benefit. Only 2 options provided a level of defence to all flood receptors, which was an objective of the study. It was assessed that option 4 represented the best option for managing the risk. Whilst being largely remote from the town, it minimised disturbance and provided a greater level of protection, including benefit to the A9. Considering the options that contained property level protection, it's important to note that PLP is an important measure for individuals to increase their flood resilience. However, some PLP measures are reliant on homeowners implementing them at the appropriate time ahead of flooding. It's also important to consider that flooding would still occur in inundating existing flood risk areas in these options, resulting in continued disruption, such as flooded roads. These factors meant it was not considered suitable to identify PLP as part of a preferred option. However, the study has identified the benefit of property owners taking proactive steps by installing PLP. The predicted flood depths up to a 200-year event were within the typical flood depths for PLP to remain effective, i.e. that being below 0.6 metres deep. It's important to note that the recommended option does not necessarily preclude other options from being considered at future stages. Further details on the recommended option are shown in this slide. Box 1 shows an indicative arrangement for a diversion channel for high flows from the Dannyburn to the Burn of Ogilvie. Through the hydraulic model, this was tested and it was confirmed that the Burn of Ogilvie has capacity to take additional flows from the Dannyburn without causing detriment downstream. Boxes 2 and 3 show diversion channels for high flows from the Back and Kimpoch burns to the Alum Water. And box 4 shows an indicative alignment for direct defences that would be required to defend the Highland Spring site from the Alum Water. Box 5 shows a location for natural flood management measures to increase floodplain storage on the upper Alum Water. The NFM measures also offer additional benefits of the potential to reuse material from other parts of the work. This would result in cost savings, subject to the material being suitable for use. There's also biodiversity benefits through the creation of habitats associated with the NFM measures and the new diversion channels, which is another key consideration of the option. Aside from recommending an option for a flood protection scheme, the study provides further recommendations. Surface water drainage improvements were identified in the surface water assessment and should be progressed by the Council. The Council has carried out some repairs to the surface water system on Stirling Street, which have already reduced the risk there. However, the study identified further scope for improvements. The Council should continue to inspect watercourses and carry out maintenance in the form of clearance and repair works, where this will significantly reduce flood risk. This should be informed by the outputs of this study. As touched on previously, property flood resilience measures should be considered by residents. Individual property surveys would be required to identify the suitable measures for each property. Further advice on this is available from organisations such as the Scottish Flood Forum. The study identifies a number of community-led actions to increase resilience to flood risk, and this could include the development or updating of an existing community emergency flood action plan, provision of community flood pods, which could be sandbags or alternative synthetic sandbag alternatives or other property level protection measures, and also the consideration of potential community flood warning systems. The various local watercourses would require to be assessed for suitability by the provider of a community flood warning system, and the Scottish Flood Forum can help to connect communities with these services. Of course, the community-led actions are reliant on suitable resources within the community to deliver these. However, these are the recommendations from the study. As a planning authority, the Council should continue to apply local and national planning policies with respect to flood risk. The information identified in the study should be used to inform the determination of planning applications within the study area and inform future local development plans. Regarding next steps, the Council will review any views and comments made by the community and then finalise the flood study. This will then be reported to the next available Environment and Infrastructure Committee in the Council. In the meantime, the recommended option has been submitted for inclusion within the next 4th Flood Risk Management Plan. This has preceded this event as a deadline was set for actions to be included within the next delivery cycle, that being 2022 to 2028. It was therefore important to meet this deadline to ensure that any future action was not delayed until future cycles, which would be post-2028. There is a national consultation ongoing for these next documents, and again, we would encourage you to record your views on this. As such, any future works following on from this study will not commence until the next delivery cycle, i.e. post-2022. It's important to highlight that the next steps are subject to further appraisal and design work, funding, and a lot of consultation with community, landowners, and other organisations. I'd like to thank you for joining this online session. Your views are important, so we welcome any comments and questions. So again, please enter them in the chat box. Please also visit our webpage for further information and also for the opportunity to provide further comment. My contact details are on this slide and also available online should you have any further questions regarding the flood protection study. Thank you.
Thanks, Gavin. Good evening, everyone. I'm Peter Dixon. I'm the flooding manager with Perth Cross Council. Now, if anyone's online and they do have any questions, you can just type them into the chat box and we can answer them live. The event tonight has been recorded, so if people obviously didn't make it tonight, they can watch it. The link will go up. The YouTube link will go onto the same web page as Gavin's just highlighted there, and you can watch it at any time. And obviously, everything the council's doing under the Flood Risk Management Scotland Act is currently subject to a national public consultation, which is also on the council's website and on our consultation hub. And Blackford is very much part of those proposals. So if you've got anything, any comments on that, you can respond direct to that consultation as well. The comment forms for the flood study are online and you can fill them out and get them back to us in any manner of ways. Now just checking, we don't have any questions yet. Bobby, I don't think there's too many people online, is there, at the moment?
One attendee at the moment.
Okay. Well, we're hoping maybe we'll get a better uptake with residents watching online. But I don't think anyone else has got anything else to add at the moment. Does anyone from Scottish Flood Forum, SEPA, want to say anything quickly before we'll log off for the recording, I suppose? Go for it, Paul.
Just very, very briefly from the Scottish Flood Forum, we'd be more than happy to work with the community. We're an independent charitable body. We're there to support flood risk communities and to support local authorities engage with communities, so we can offer a lot of advice and experience, especially around property level protection, starting a community group, and we could put you in touch with your own hyper local community flood alerting system. So we'd love to work with you and hopefully we'll talk to you in the future. Thanks, Peter.
Thanks, Paul. Do you have Karen Bloodworth from SEPA? Karen, do you want to just say a couple of words maybe?
Hi, thank you. It's Karen Bloodworth from SEPA. I'm the flood advisor for the North East area, which covers Blackford. SEPA provides a flood warning service, which we do in partnership with the Met Office, and this gives you the option to register for a flood alert that would give you some between 2 hours and 2 days warning in advance of any forecast flooding. if you'd like to look at more information on floodline, you can go through the SEPA website and find it there. Also wanted to just highlight the consultation that's out at the moment, as Gavin and Peter have both mentioned, and would really encourage you to go and have a look at that and make any comments, as that's all very helpful for us making the plans for the next cycle. And if you need anything, more than happy for you to contact SEPA through myself, with Karen Bloodworth. Thank you.
Thanks, Karen. We've got a few comments, not really questions, in the chat box now. Just someone in the community offering to put the link to the presentation tonight on Facebook, which will help. Thanks very much. We've got a hello and a thank you. I think that's actually from Janet Law, who's a community councillor. So thanks, Janet, for tuning in. I think you could be one of the few attendees tonight. So maybe we can spread the word and get a few more people to view the presentation. After this, as I say, it'll be on YouTube, and the link to that will be on the same consultation page on the council's website, if we can circulate that, and you can watch it at any time really and give us your feedback. The study isn't finalised yet. People can still give us their comments. They've still got time to sort of give us their views and influence it before we finalise the report, and then put it forward to the council's E&I committee at the next available opportunity. So you've still got your time to influence this, folks, if you get your comments into us. But barring any further comment from anyone, it's short and sweet tonight. Nothing else in the chat box. I think we can probably draw a line under it. Just to say as well that obviously this is just one opportunity to make comment. We can have further discussions with local residents or businesses if they should want that. Just get in touch and we can offer further meetings. Doing things online is not everybody's way of communicating, so we can offer more kind of one-to-one meetings if need be. They can be done face-to-face, I suppose, with small numbers of people, or alternatively online on a kind of one-to-one online meeting. So again, just get in touch with us if that's something that you're interested in. And I think that's us, short and sweet tonight. So just to say thanks to everyone, thanks to Gavin and everyone else on the call, and we'll draw a line under it there. Thank you.